My brother-in-law, Victor, announced it the moment I walked through the front door, shopping bags of gifts balanced in my arms. Everyone, hide your wallets. The entire living room erupted in laughter. My 7-year-old twins stood frozen beside me, their small faces twisted in confusion. I'd been married into the Castellano family for 9 years. 9 years of these jokes. 9 years of being reminded that I came from nothing while they came from 3 generations of restaurant empire money. What Victor didn't know, what none of them knew, was that his beloved flagship restaurant was 60 days from bankruptcy, and I was the anonymous investor who had saved it 18 months ago. My husband, Marco, squeezed my shoulder apologetically as he took the bags from my hands. His family had never accepted me. Not when we started dating in college. Not when we got married despite his mother's tears. Not when I gave them 2 beautiful grandchildren who, apparently, had inherited my unfortunate genes instead of the prestigious Castellano features. Victor, come on, Marco said weakly. It's Christmas. What? I'm just joking. Natalie knows I'm joking. Right, Natalie? I smiled, the smile I'd perfected over 9 years. Of course. Merry Christmas, everyone. My daughter Sophia tugged my sleeve. Mommy, what's a charity case? Before I could answer, Victor's wife, Gabriella, chimed in, her voice dripping with false sweetness. It means someone who needs help, sweetheart. Someone who can't take care of themselves. My son Lucas looked up at me with his father's dark eyes. But you take care of us, Mommy. That's right, baby. Don't worry about it. I guided my children toward the massive Christmas tree in the corner of the Castellano family mansion. The house had intimidated me when I first saw it. 12 bedrooms, a pool house, staff quarters, all built on the success of Castellano's Ristorante, the Italian fine dining institution that had been feeding Chicago's elite for 73 years. Marco's mother, Donna Lucia, sat in her usual throne-like armchair by the fireplace. 81 years old, she still ran the family with an iron fist wrapped in a velvet glove. She nodded at me once, her version of a greeting. I'd stopped expecting warmth years ago. The children have grown, she observed. They look more like their mother every day. It wasn't a compliment. Thank you, Donna Lucia. They're excited for Christmas. Victor settled into the couch with a glass of whiskey, already on his 3rd by the looks of it. He was the eldest Castellano son, the one who'd taken over restaurant operations when his father passed. The golden child. The family pride. He was also terrible with money. So Natalie, Victor began, Marco tells me you're still doing that little bookkeeping thing from home. How's that working out? Making enough to buy Christmas presents this year? Or did Marco have to cover it? More laughter. Gabriella. Victor's college-aged daughter, Bianca. Even Donna Lucia's lips twitched. Marco shifted uncomfortably. She actually runs a successful consulting firm, Victor. She has major clients. Right. Consulting. Victor made air quotes. That's what people call it when they can't get real jobs. I felt the familiar heat rise in my chest, but I kept my expression neutral. I'd learned long ago that reacting only made it worse. The Castellanos fed on reaction. They saw emotion as weakness, and weakness as confirmation that I didn't belong. My clients seem to think it's a real job, I said mildly. They pay me like it is. Sure they do. Victor winked at Marco. Brother, you really should have listened to Mama. That Benedetti girl would have been perfect for you. Her family knows how to make money. Victor, Marco said, his voice etched now. Stop. What? I'm just saying you had options. Instead you picked the mother of your niece and nephew, I finished for him. The woman who's sat through 9 years of your insults with a smile. The person who's never once asked your family for anything. The room went quiet. Victor's eyes narrowed. Touched a nerve. Did you? I replied calmly. No. Just stating facts. Like you always do. Donna Lucia raised one thin eyebrow. I'd surprised her. Good. Christmas dinner was the usual elaborate affair, catered by Castellanos, of course. 7 courses for wines. The children ate in the kitchen with the staff, a battle I'd fought for years before finally giving up. Castellano tradition, Donna Lucia insisted. Children don't belong at the adult table. During the main course, Victor held court as always, bragging about restaurant success, new locations, celebrity clientele. We're expanding to Miami next year, he announced proudly. Already got investors lined up. Big money. Serious people. I kept my eyes on my plate. How much are they investing? Marco asked. 2.5 million. Private equity firm. Very exclusive. They came to us actually. Said Castellano was too valuable to fail. I took a slow sip of wine. The investment had been 3.2 million, not 2.5. And it hadn't been a private equity firm. It had been me. Through my holding company, Northbrook Capital Partners. A company that existed on paper and in bank accounts, but had no public face. Victor had been so desperate 18 months ago that he'd accepted the money without proper due diligence. He'd been weeks away from defaulting on his business loans. The flagship restaurant had been hemorrhaging money due to his mismanagement. Expansion to a second Chicago location had drained every reserve. I'd seen the financials through Marco, who vented to me about his brother's incompetence without knowing I was taking notes. I'd made a calculated decision. I saved the restaurant anonymously because it was Marco's family legacy. Because my children deserved to inherit something, even if their grandmother looked at them like disappointments. Because I knew that someday somehow the truth would be useful. That day had arrived. After dinner, gifts were exchanged. The Castellanos gave my children expensive toys that felt like obligations. My gifts to them were politely received and immediately set aside. Victor didn't even open the bottle of rare scotch I'd brought him. Thanks for trying, he said, giving my shoulder a patronizing pat. Maybe next year you can afford the good stuff. It was a $400 bottle. I just smiled. At 10 p.m. I gathered my exhausted children and told Marco I was taking them home. He wanted to stay longer. Donna Lucia had requested a family meeting about the business, so I drove back alone with Sophia and Lucas asleep in the back seat. That night, I sat in my home office and opened my laptop. The loan documents were all in order. The terms were clear. Northbrook Capital Partners had provided $3.2 million at 8% interest, with full repayment due in 36 months, or upon demand of the lender with 90 days' notice. Victor had made 12 interest payments. He'd missed the last 2. I drafted an email to my attorney. Then I drafted a letter to Victor's banker. Then I waited. January 2nd arrived cold and gray. I was making breakfast for the twins when Marco walked into the kitchen, phone pressed to his ear, face pale. What do you mean renegotiate? Who's the lender? What partner? He listened for a long moment. I'll call you back. He set the phone down and stared at me. Something wrong? I asked, flipping a pancake. Victor just called. His banker says the private lender wants to renegotiate the loan terms. They're demanding a meeting in person, tomorrow. That sounds serious. It is serious. If he can't renegotiate, he could lose the restaurant. The lender could call the loan due immediately. That's unfortunate. Marco studied my face. You don't seem surprised. Should I be, Natalie? What's going on? I turned off the stove and faced my husband. 9 years of secrets. 9 years of building something in silence while his family mocked me. I'd wanted to wait longer. I'd wanted the reveal to be perfect. But Victor had called me a charity case in front of my children. Some things couldn't wait. I'm the lender, Marco. He laughed. Then he saw my face. That's not possible. Northbrook Capital Partners. I created it 6 years ago. I've been doing private lending and investment consulting for select clients, primarily distressed businesses. You don't have that kind of money. I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app, and turned the screen toward him. What is, Natalie, that's? He sat down heavily. 6.4 million in liquid assets, he read. Another 2.1 million in real estate investments. Your brother's restaurant owes me $3.2 million plus 18 months of interest. Marco's hands were shaking. Why didn't you tell me? Because I wanted something that was mine. Something your family couldn't touch, criticize, or diminish. I grew up poor, Marco, you know that. Everyone knows that. Your mother looked at me at our wedding like I was something stuck to her shoe. Victor's been calling me a charity case since the day we met. I swallowed. I needed to prove to myself that I could build something real. But why save the restaurant? He asked quietly. Why help Victor? Because it's your family's legacy. Because our children deserve to be part of something, even if your mother doesn't see them as real Castellanos. And because I knew someday your brother would push me too far. Marco was silent for a long time. Finally, he asked, What are you going to do? I'm going to that meeting tomorrow, I said. And I'm going to renegotiate. The meeting was at Victor's banker's office downtown. I arrived early, dressed in the navy suit I reserved for important client meetings. My attorney, Sandra Chun, was already there with the documentation. Victor arrived looking haggard. He clearly hadn't slept. Behind him came Donna Lucia, leaning on her cane, and Gabriella, visibly annoyed at being dragged into a business meeting. They all stopped when they saw me. "What are you doing here?" Victor demanded. "This is a private financial meeting." "I know. I'm here for the meeting." "Marco sent you?" He scoffed. "This isn't really your area, Natalie. Maybe wait in the lobby." Sandra stood. "Mr. Castellano, Mrs. Castellano is here as the managing partner of Northbrook Capital. She's your lender." The color drained from Victor's face. "That's impossible." I slid the loan documents across the table. Section 3.2. Signature of authorizing partner. "That's my signature, Victor." I met his eyes. "I've been your lender for 18 months. Donna Lucia picked up the papers with trembling hands. Gabriella looked like she might faint. "You." Victor's voice cracked. "You gave me that money? I saved your restaurant from bankruptcy. You were 60 days from losing everything. The bank had already rejected your loan extension. No legitimate investor would touch you with your financials." I leaned forward. So I stepped in. Quietly. Anonymously. "Why?" he whispered. "Because despite everything, I love your brother. Because my children carry the Castellano name. And because I'm not the heartless charity case you think I am." Victor sank into a chair. "I don't understand. You're a bookkeeper." "I was a bookkeeper 10 years ago. Then I started consulting. Then I started investing. I built a portfolio, while you were busy mocking me at family dinners." I opened another folder. "You've missed 2 interest payments. According to our agreement, I have the right to call the full loan due immediately." "You can't," he said, panicked. "I don't have $3 million. "I know you don't. That's why we're here, to renegotiate." Donna Lucia finally spoke. "What do you want?" I looked at the woman who'd spent 9 years treating me like dirt beneath her designer shoes. "I want respect. For me. For my children. For the family I built with your son. I want the charity case jokes to stop. I want Sophia and Lucas to sit at the adult table on holidays. I want to be introduced by my name, not as Marco's wife like I'm an afterthought." "That's it?" Victor asked. "I'm not taking the restaurant. I'm not interested in taking anything. I'm interested in being treated like a human being." I slid a new contract across the table. Extended terms. Lower interest rate. 5 years to repay instead of 3. In exchange, you hire a proper CFO, submit quarterly financials for my review, and never call me a charity case again. Victor read the document, hands shaking. "These terms, they're more than fair." "I know," I said calmly. "Because I'm not trying to destroy you, Victor. I'm trying to make you understand that the woman you've mocked for 9 years is the reason you still have a business." He signed without another word. Donna Lucia stopped me on the way out. Her eyes were wet. I'd never seen her cry before. "I underestimated you," she said quietly. "Most people do." She hesitated. "My grandchildren, they're lucky to have you as their mother." It wasn't an apology, but from Donna Lucia, it was close enough. That Easter I walked into the Castellano mansion with my head high. Victor greeted me at the door with a handshake and my name. Gabriella complimented my dress. Donna Lucia had set 3 extra places at the adult table. Sophia and Lucas sat with the family for the first time ever. My daughter beamed. My son looked proud. Marco leaned over and whispered, "How does it feel?" I looked around the table at the family who had finally learned to see me. "It feels like I earned my seat. And for the first time in 9 years I truly belonged."